where I see the facts, I see the truth, and that's what I'm gathering.
You know my heart.
What are they charging you with?
2 charges of second-degree felony for child abuse.
2 charges of second-degree felony child abuse.
Yes.
Okay. Wow, that's very serious.
It's interesting, I had the prompting over the last month to read Viktor Frankl. I was reading him, and it was like the worst part was not knowing the end. He said he had an inmate that's man searched for meaning, and he was a prisoner in World War II, and he said the worst part and the greatest bringing of depression was not the lack of food, and it wasn't the weather conditions, it was not knowing how long it would last. So I think I was prepared for this. I do feel strong, I feel calm. And you know what, adults have a really hard time understanding that children can be full of evil and what that takes to fight it. You've seen what it takes to fight evil. It's not the person you're fighting. And it can look like something it's not. And you've been there, you know that. And so I don't know any adults who are going to see the truth. So I'm calm about this, and I just pray that you'll hang in there.
You have 1 minute remaining for this call.
I think I can call back, but...
Yeah, but just in case, I'm preparing to step up and fight for the children. They've been taken, and there's going to be a hearing in the next couple of days here in Provo.
I'm sorry, I signaled to Joe. Will you say that one more time?
Yes, I'm prepared to step up and fight for the children. They've been taken into custody. They're in foster care, and there's going to be a hearing within the next 2 or 3 days.
What about Abby and Julie?
Them too. All 4 were taken.
Where did they go to get Abby and Julie?
I don't know. They while I was with them, they got Abby, and they were looking.
You have exceeded the allowable time for this call. Goodbye.
Yeah. Hi.
Okay.
When I saw how long this separation was lasting, I wanted to think of some ways that I could bring in money or make some money if you didn't ever come back. So that's when I asked if you would co-sign on a loan if I found a house, and maybe I could Airbnb it or rent it out, or I've been playing with numbers in my head, and I think I could make something, but I don't want to be dumb, and I want to be very conservative. So I pulled the money, and I have it in a bag. And
with you? Do the police have it?
Well, I don't know what the police took. I don't know what the police have.
But the bag was at Jody's house?
They can't just take people's money. I mean, that's not right.
Well, they're not going to take the money, but when they have a search warrant, they have access to everything in the house.
Sure. Yeah.
I have a feeling we're going to need that money.
We might do. So, I haven't been making big purchases. I've been very conservative. I think the biggest expense has been the kids' schooling, and that's they have enough curriculum to get them for a couple years.
Okay. I just received a text from Ted Dawson out of the blue. Ted Dawson, who I haven't heard from in years.
What, he just texted you?
Yeah, the story's out. So he said, Stormy sent me an article, and it just broke my heart. I just wanted you to know I'm thinking about you, and if I can ever be a resource, we are always here.
Are we in the news?
It sounds like at least you're in the news. I don't know about me. I don't know what he's talking about. But
I'm wondering if they went to Sherry to, ask her questions.
I don't know.
These bookings are public.
I know they are. And a couple of months ago, Business Insider was reaching out to me, and I ignored their email. But I'm going dark.
This is a witch.
I'm not at BYU anymore, so I don't know how they're going to find me.
Yeah. maybe it was a blessing. This is a witch hunt. The devil's been after me for years, and he's mad as heck.
Have you shared that with the detectives?
I have not said a word until I have an attorney.
Okay, well, you know that this phone call is being recorded.
You have 1 minute remaining for this call.
Yes, that will come out. That will come out.
Okay.
When we were driven to the jail, the detective was putting us in the car, and Jody said, "I trust you." So
they're going to be in the hospital for 3 days.
So weird. It's just not necessary. Like trying to exaggerate this.
They didn't show me.
Like the hero.
Well, they didn't show me any pictures or anything, but the way they described it, it was very serious.
You have exceeded the allowable time for this call. Goodbye.
You know what you called? You had to put her in a chair, and it was horrible. It was torturous last night, hearing the screaming and the banging and people. It's like, okay, that's upsetting. But the most upsetting thing is that I am completely misunderstood. That is the most horrible feeling. Like my own family misunderstands me. They misinterpret me. And poor Jody, they misinterpret her. They misunderstand her. She puts her neck out on the line for people, and then they get mad at her. I mean, it is just horrendous. It's horrendous. And you know what? Every Joseph Smith, every wonderful man of God has had to be misunderstood.
That's right.
And so I'm going to get out of this. Who knows? Maybe in 10 days I'll get out of this. If I'm, if truth prevails right now, or who knows, like 20 years. I don't know. I don't know how long. But I'm going to step out. I'm going to say I went through everything. I have seen God's children suffer. All the people here, my jail cellmates, have been beautiful women, but they've been hurt. They've been deceived into drugs, and my heart just has so much compassion for them. And I have compassion for the cops, and I have compassion for myself, and then to be told that I'm suicidal, I'm like, no, that's not true. Anyway, if you need to let
Sherry, that was either Sherry or one of your siblings.
Well, they're all in cahoots. One means all of them, but yes, you're right. In your hearing, I don't know if you've considered this. I don't know if it'd be helpful, but you could have the house, and if all the kids go to the house, you've got room there, and I will gladly stay away and let you guys be. So I don't know if that's helpful. I'm just giving it to you if it is.
Thank you. And in the discussions with my attorney, that's the only way that we're going to retain custody of the children.
That's fine.
He is 35 years in this, and he said even if you are acquitted and are released, they will place legal restrictions on your access to the under 18 children.
I figured such. God told me when I was driving before I called you. I didn't have any information. I didn't know anything, and the Spirit said, your children are going to be removed. And I cried out loud. I'm like, no, I'm not done. I'm not ready. And God told me I'm done. And Satan has taken everything away from me that I love. And I'm a good woman. I don't do naughty things. I'm a really good girl.
Ruby, I'm going to do everything that I can to keep truth in our family. And
thank you.
I'm committed to our family. I'm committed to you and our marriage, no matter what happens.
Thank you.
I will be here to support you in any way that I can.
Well, thank you for stepping up.
I do need to go, but
okay. All right.
Call me back when or if you need.
When will you find out? How can I call you? When should I call so I find out what they say?
I don't know how long this will go, but if you call this afternoon, I will know. This is a preliminary hearing, so there will be no...
Okay. Well, it's hard to get a phone around here. I asked for a phone, and it took hours to get it, so it may not be until later tonight. Okay.
That's fine.
Okay. All right. Good luck. I will be praying for you. Okay. Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
This is a call from and paid for by
Ruby, thank you. Purgatory Corrections.
an inmate at Purgatory Correctional Facility. This call is subject to recording and monitoring. If you don't wish to talk, hang up now.
Hello?
Thank you for using Telmate.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear us?
Yeah.
Okay, that was...
Over there.
It's 9:30. We're good.
Okay. At night?
Yeah, yeah. We're 8 hours ahead.
Okay.
I'm glad you could call us back.
Yeah. I haven't used the phones very much. They're kind of hard to figure out, but yeah, I think I figured out how to use... I don't think this one will shut me off. I think the one I called you was a free call, and this one will be paid for by my account. Kevin Bo put some money in it. But I was saying I can't say everything that I want to say, but I really did feel like the arrest was like a rescue. Like I just felt so many angels around, and it was like a relief. It was just really kind of surreal, kind of strange. But I just keep thinking about, President Nelson's talk, think celestial, and I know he said in the past about myopic thinking, and he's given a lot of context to, how small this life really is, and I'm just so grateful. How many people, will go to the grave not having woken up, and I want to use this time, and I am using this time to change, to repent, and to do what I can to let the Lord know I love him and my family, and I've had many experiences here to kind of guide my thinking. It's like, I don't know, my attorney's been really good. Did you know my attorney is...
I believe that God has a hand in the old Ruby, being kind of set free or whatever you want to call it, that, thing being gone.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I could not come out of this without his grace, without his mercy, without his help. This has been the strangest and the most miraculous intervention. It put everybody where they needed to be. It separated me from Jody, so I'm not hearing her. And I think just being gone and not hearing her has cleared a lot of things up for me. And it put the kids in a place where they're...
You have exceeded the allowable time for this call. Goodbye.
Did you see that Jody pled guilty today?
I did see that. Yes. Is that a relief for you?
Yeah, it's a big relief. It's a big relief. There would have been positive the other way too. Had she not pled guilty, there's enough evidence that she could have been convicted for life. But that would have been messy. It would have been really messy. And the kids would have. So
do you and her get the same outcome no matter what now, or is there a chance that it would be different?
That's a really good question. That's one that I've asked Lamar. No, we can still have different outcomes. So Ellie asked a little bit about this. I wrote it out in a text to her. But so the next thing that will happen is I will fill out, and she will fill out probation and there's another P, paperwork. And basically you go through your history and you tell them your history, which there's no history on me. There's nothing, no criminal history, no mental health history, nothing. And I'm also hiring a professional to do a mental health evaluation, just to say she's good, like there's no mental health problems at all. And then that will go to my probationary board. Jody, she can lie on her paperwork, and she probably will. I don't think she's going to give them her history. but I think in the interview it's going to be apparent that she's mentally ill. And so that will affect how long someone, because they're looking, how repentant are you? How much responsibility are you taking? How are you aware that what you've done is wrong? And she's not. The only reason she pled is because she didn't want to do life. She knew I would testify. The other thing is, on my plea deal, when I come up for probation, the prosecuting attorney can, will often, if they think that you're a danger to society, will talk to the probationary board or write them a letter saying, I think she needs to stay where she is. He's going to stay neutral and not write any letter when my probation comes up, which is a really big deal. But for her, he's not going to stay neutral. So we can come up to probation and I can get off on probation and she may not.
So what does probation look like? Like, what does that all entail?
It can look like several different things, I think. I'm still learning about this, and I think I never realized how complicated it is. I always thought you pled guilty and they tell you how long you're in.
Yeah, there's a lot of terminology to know.
Yeah, and half of the stuff that is said goes over my head, and then I have to go, I come back and I ask the girls here, I'm like, what does this mean? What does this mean?
Yeah.
But probation could look like going home, like you could go home. Sometimes, it might look like going home with restrictions, like you can go home, but you need to live with somebody who's responsible and you can't be around certain people. Like they may say you could go home if your parents agree to house you, but you can't go home to where your kids are living. It could look like something like that. Or it could look like something where I have an ankle monitor. Or it could look like you can go home if you pay a $10,000 fine. Or maybe it could look like instead of serving the rest of your time, we'll give you some good time and you can go home in half the time. Or so I think that getting off on probation, I think looks like there's several different ways that could happen.
Oh, I see. Good to know.
Yeah.
And is that usually after you've already served some time then?
Say that one more time.
That's after you have served some time?
Yeah. And I don't know what that is going to be. I don't know if it's, one of the girls said that it would be for me 6 months, but I've also heard it could be 4 years. And some people serve several years before they ever see their probation board. So I'm really still, I could be in there 4 years. I could be in there 30. Like, I really don't know.
Yeah. And that will come in February?
On February 20th.
Okay.
Yeah. And the news that I saw today, Jody's sentence hearing is also February 20th. So I'm going to make a request that we be transferred in 2 different vans. I don't think they're going to accommodate that.
Oh, do they? Okay, I see.
Yeah, when I went to the courthouse last week, what they do, they did this when they transported me to Utah County as well. They pull all the girls. There's only 2 housing here for girls. There's not very many girls here, but there's many for the men. And so they take the girls and they put them in a cell together, in a holding cell to wait, and then they get all the men together and they put all the men in the cells, and then they start putting on the ankle bracelets and the chains and the everything on the men while you're sitting in the cell with these women you're going to the court with for an hour. You're sitting with them, and then they pull the girls out and they line you up, and then they put the shackles on you, and then they take the men out to the men's van, and then they take the women out to the women's van, and then you drive to the courthouse together, and then they take you out.
How far away is your place from the courthouse there in St. George?
30 minutes, 40 minutes.
Okay.
And then you sit in a cell at the court. So if someone's hearing's at 9, this is what happened to me. There was a girl that went with me, and her hearing was at 9, but mine wasn't until 11. So she went in and she had like a 5-minute hearing, and then we sat in the cell and talked for 2 hours until it was my turn. And then we rode back together. So you pretty much spend several hours together, whoever is going to the court that day with you.
Interesting. So that means on February 20th, it would be you and her going together.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
When was the last time you talked to her? Was it that day?
It was when we were arrested.
Okay.
Yeah. I left early in the morning to go to a dentist appointment with Julie. We left at like 3 in the morning, and she called me sometime in the morning, and so I went back down. But when I got to the house, I mean, it looked like the movies. There was a red fire truck. There was a black van with tinted windows. There were 2 ambulances. There were 20 cop cars. I mean, it was.
Did you just sit in your car?
No, I pulled up and found a spot to park. She lives on a cul-de-sac. I parked in the cul-de-sac, and I walked up, and the driveway was just full of cops, and I just walked up to the cop, and they said, "Are you the mother?" And I nodded my head, and so they took me and put me in the casita, and I sat there for a couple hours. I just sat there, and then they were finishing looking through the house and stuff, I think, and some of the guys were coming in and out with pizza, and so I think Eve was still there because the ambulance car was there. I was eating pizza with the police, and then once the kids were taken in the ambulance cars, then the detective came and patted me down and arrested me, and then took me to the courthouse for questioning, which I didn't. And I'm glad I didn't say anything because Lamar was really helpful. Like, if you ever get arrested, don't say anything. I just didn't say anything. And she was like,
how did you find Lamar? Was he just assigned to you coincidentally, or did you?
She has an attorney that she's used for connections, and I called him and no one answered, but then she called him and he said, "I only do like business law, I don't do criminal law, but here's a number of 2 people who do that I would highly recommend." And so she gave the 2 numbers, and I got the number from Kevin. I don't know how the numbers got from. I don't know how, but Kevin said, "Here's your attorney, and this is her attorney." And that was the last time I talked to Kevin. It was a couple of days after my arrest, but. So I didn't see Jody at all when I went to the house to turn myself in. I didn't see her.
Okay.
And I went, and they took me to the courthouse, and the detective was like, "I've got all night. We can talk all night." And I didn't say anything. I just said, I want an attorney. I could hear Kevin in the hallway talking, and then he left. And when they took me out of the room, they took me outside and cuffed me and said, they cuffed me again, and then they told me, "You're under arrest and then they told me two of the charges, and then they had me get in the patrol car, and that's when I saw Jody. I saw Jody was also in the patrol car. She had surgery on her shoulder. She couldn't put her hands behind her back, so then they pulled her out and changed up the way they arrested her so she could drive with her hands in front of her. And then we had about a 45-minute drive to the jail, and that was the last time I spoke to her. We were in the back, and we didn't say a whole lot. I mean, we talked the whole time, but I don't remember really saying a whole lot. We sang hummed a couple hymns, and she was still justifying the whole time. She's like, don't worry, we'll have our day in court. And then when we were booked in, they put us in separate cells, and we've been in separate cells ever since. So.
Okay. Do you hate talking about that kind of stuff? Does it trigger anything, or is it just?
No, I don't. I think it's.
Fun?
No, I don't mind talking about it. It's maybe good for me to talk about it. I don't know if you like talking about it.
I was just wondering if it triggered anything, but if you're doing okay mentally, and then that's okay.
Yeah. It's. I think putting the pieces together and just seeing, like, she knew she was lying the whole time. Like, I and it's embarrassing too to like repeat it. It's like, oh my gosh, how gullible was I? Oh my gosh, how much power I gave this person, and I didn't see it. When I realized, so she had, her attorney's name is Doug Terry, and mine's Lamar, and Lamar, you know, maybe a month into it, he's maybe not even that long, he's like, Jody denies everything. She denies having anything to do with this. And I was shocked. I was like, what? And I'm still telling Lamar, like, you know, all of the justifications and all of the, you know, I'm talking like a criminal. I sound like a mad person. He was so patient with me. He was so patient with me. He would just look at me and like kind of dumbfounded, like I'd said 2 + 2 is 7, and I really believed it. And he would just stare at me. I'm like, what am I saying that's so off? And but that's because I really believed it. But then when I heard that Jody was not talking like that, she was denying the whole thing, it told me she knew all along. It's like a little kid who doesn't know it's wrong to pee in their underwear. Like, they don't know. They're not embarrassed by it. It's like, oh, I was supposed to pee in the toilet? Oh, oops. But you get a 6-year-old. You know, you get a 6-year-old who knows they're supposed to pee in the toilet and they're peeing down the heater vent. They're going to try to hide it. Mm-hmm. And that's when I realized she knew all along, and she's hiding it. And then I was like, crap, what am I son? And that's when things kind of started turning. I was like, she's not been honest. I didn't know she wasn't honest. I didn't know she would lie. And it's like, what else has she been lying about? Where else have I been deceived?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What was that?
Oh, no, I was just, agreeing.
Yeah.
You did see it.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was just like the little string that started pulling apart this fabric. I'm like, oh my gosh, what have I done? Like, what? So I can talk about it now. Yeah, go ahead.
Lamar was just very, very kind that day that we met with him. It was a very nice time and just visit with us.
Oh, like miraculous.
Yeah. He and his wife.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he had a way of, like, he didn't beat around the bush. Like, there were sometimes he would say things that were shocking to me. Like, he would, like, repeat what I said, but he would say it in a different tone so I could hear myself. And he's like, is that really what you think? And I'm like, oh. And he would, but then there were other times that.
You have 1 minute remaining for this call.
Do you want to end the call, or do you want me to call you back? How do you want to?
We can end for today, and then we can always talk again. So.
Yeah.
I'm just really glad that he's there to kind of help you through it, and.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, the first night I was in the jail, I just felt really strongly like, I'm sending you help. Help is coming. Yeah. And I just felt like that was Lamar, and he's been very, very helpful. I'm grateful for him.
Well, that's what we've all been praying for this whole time. So I'm glad that even it's a different kind of help, but I'm glad it's finally here.
Me too. I'll take it. Like, I hate this, but I'm taking it.
Of course. Yeah. It was good to talk to you.
You have exceeded the allowable time for this call. Goodbye.
Thank you so much for watching, and do not forget to subscribe, like, share, and leave us a comment below on your thoughts of this video. And until next time, this is UnJustified.